What's up, everyone, and welcome to ClearTalk. So, in this video, we're going to be talking about is the Democrats taking the wrong lesson from what just happened? Uh, we're going to discuss it. So, thank you very much for joining me. If you like what I'm doing here, please consider subscribing, like, share, comment, all that good stuff. Check out the other channels. JMD Drummer, JMDPLAY, the Discord there, JMD Nation, and then if you want to do one-time donation or the JMD Nation and Patreon, $3 a month there. Anything you do is much appreciated. Thank you very, very much. All right, so, all right, question at hand. After all is said and done, what lessons are the Democrats taking in the aftermath of this election? Initially, you have them coming out as they normally do, blaming the left, blaming all of any facet of the campaign, or whatever that may have been left leaning, um, you know, and the progressive Bernie, all that, just like they did before. Whether it was, any kind of messaging in that direction, or if it was the left not coming out to vote because of whatever, Gaza, whatever the case, you even had some coming out talking about how Tim Walz was a bad VP pick, that he was too left leaning, and that they needed to have catered more to the right. They needed to have coalesced more to the right, which is basically the neoliberal idea, is that to do what you need to for the base, kind of give some little hints to the progressives a little bit, just to kind of keep them happy and try to maybe hold their vote, but also thinking that like they're going to vote anyway or something. But then also catering to your disaffected sort of neocon Republicans. That's the reason why you had the whole Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney thing or whatever, taking them on the trail and all this kind of all that bull BS. So but even that wasn't enough. There's some of them that saying they should have went further right, and that is the problem with the Democratic Party, is those in the party, the elites and the ones who constantly keep advising them to do the same shit every time. They attempted this back in 2016. It's the reason why they did what they could to push Bernie out then, because they were trying to get rid of that whole section of the party, or pretend like they didn't exist, or and just sort of silence them, and working more towards the right. Didn't work then. They did the same thing in 2020, again, trying to silence the left side of the party and working to the right. Just so happened Trump was bad enough that the Democrats won then. It wasn't really about Biden and what the messaging he was giving. Sorry. It was all about not Trump, right? And while Biden, as far as domestically, did sort of had some tendencies to lean to the left a little bit, and do some somewhat, albeit very minimal, like bare minimal, somewhat lefty leaning kind of stuff, policy wise. But the whole neoliberal idea is just to be center, but also like pander to the right. And once again, this did not work this time. You can't outright the right. It's just not going to work. If voters wanted right wing, why are they going to vote for you? When they've got the full-fledged package right there to the right. They're not going to vote for you, even though you were, pandering to them. When it comes to like the immigration and the southern border, all the rhetoric around that. We gave you the bill, and Trump's the one that didn't didn't let it happen. We're tough on the border. That's what our plan is to be, which they are. The Democrats have always been as tough, if not sometimes tougher, than the Republican Party on the border. No matter what Trump tells you, it's just the facts. Open border is not really a thing. And the Democrats do not support that. They never have. So Republicans, Trump supporters, please just get that out of your mind. That's false. That's a lie. That's that Trump has created in your head. It's not actually true. But even so, all these things that they did to cater to the right side, it even when it comes around like weapons, her talking about her, I've got a gun, I'm a gun owner, and I'm a shooter. It's like, yeah, okay, a lot of people are. It's not. They don't care. You're not going to pull in Republicans that way, and it showed. She got less Republican support this year. Every year he's gotten less Republican support. Republicans are going to vote Republican. They're not going to vote for Democrats. That's the one hardcore facet about the Republican Party and a Republican base and conservative voters. They are 100% voting on party line. They actually, most of them could care less about policy. It is all about voting party line. They have no interest in voting Democrats. Their ideology, their mindset, it's all about Republican and Republican only. They don't care. Even who is in line, who is up there, they're still going to vote for them. So you're not going to get them. You don't see this from the Republican Party. The Republican Party always, Trump and the MAGA movement and everything behind him, they had no interest. You never saw them sit there and try to actually pander or talk about anything left of them. It was all full on hardcore right extreme rhetoric. They constantly, and that's something that even I talked about this. If because I was in the mindset that Trump didn't have enough, and that he was constantly talking to his base, and he wasn't willing to go outside of his base. Fortunately for me, I overthought that, and his not only pulling his base, but even some disaffected Republicans still went Republican because Kamala didn't look much different. And that's the problem with the Democratic Party, is that they have pulled themselves so far right. And yes, crazy enough, Trump supporters, Democrats are not left. They are center right. They're not left-leaning, not true left. They just aren't. They're left of you, but that doesn't mean they're left. Democrats are corporate center right neocons to the core. There is a facet of Democratic Party, albeit a little bit regrettable, that are considered left, that are progressives and left-leaning, yes, but that's a very small coalition that just basically try to use the Democratic Party, try to influence and change the Democratic Party to be more left-leaning, to pull them back to the left. But basically, the Democratic Party right now is just the Republican Party of like the 80s and 90s. That's what they are right now. The Overton window for politics has moved constantly to the right in the U.S., where, Republican and Democrat is just constantly, if you had a scale Okay, well, sorry, within the frame like this. Boop, boop, you get in the frame. If you get a scale from this is well, this would be your right, left. Okay, and this is the Republican Party. This is the Democratic Party. Okay, the Overton window has shifted this way, where now Democrats here, and the Republicans are starting to try to go off the screen. The Democrats are here. They're like they're coming past center. They're right up in here, which is where the Republican Party used to be. The Republican Party used to be right up in here. It used to take up all this space, but now they're way over here. Democrats are right here. So who's over here? Who's over in this space? The very small coalition of progressives and left-leaning people in the country trying their best to influence and pull the Democratic Party back to the left and back into the kind of working class, regular American guy party that they used to be. The Republicans have always been for the rich. They've always been for the wealthy, at least since after World War II, anyways, or before World War II. They've always been for the rich. Um, and the wealthy, and especially since Reagan, has been nothing but that is the Republicans are all for the rich and wealthy elite, but the Democrats they have little by little taken on that over the years, and to the point that now they are pretty much for the wealthy elite. So you have two parties now for the wealthy elite. The only major difference between the two are like social issues, where the Republicans are extremely conservative socially, and the Democrats are more liberal, a little bit more inclusive, a little bit more understanding of social differences and whatnot. I mean, that's the main difference. They're both warmongers. The Republicans are a little bit more warmongery, if you're being honest, than the Democrats, but they're pretty much almost equal. There's Republicans and Democrats alike that have not seen a war that they didn't like. So, um, but yes, this is what's happened. The Democratic Party has moved so far to the right, and that's the neoliberal like ideology. And but America itself has not moved to the right like that. The base, the working party base, like of the Democratic Party, as far as voters are concerned, have not moved to the right like the politicians have, like the party has. And that's the problem. The Democratic Party has lost their base. They've lost touch with their base. And they're too busy trying to play with the Republicans, hoping that they can take some from them or something, because they see, and I think it's because just in their mind they see the success of the Republican Party in their platforms and how they're doing and with their base, that but they don't know how to take that and translate that to like, well, we can do the same thing but for our base. Instead, it's like we're going to do the same thing but maybe kind of steal from their base, steal from the Republican base, which clearly isn't working. And what the Democrats need to be doing, though, is taking those lessons from the Republican Party and people like Trump and how he just completely panders to his own base, to the most extremes of his base. And they need to be doing it in the this opposite direction. My right, your left. Be doing it in the opposite direction. And they need to be pushing to the left. They need to be going further to the left. They need to be bringing up all the extremes of the left, of the progressive side. The strongest coalition that the Democratic Party has had in years was under Bernie in 2016. And they hadn't had that kind of somewhat of even that type of coalition been them since the beginning of Obama's, when Obama was becoming, doing his initial campaign. But the problem is Obama didn't really follow through with this stuff. He actually just he campaigned on being like a progressive almost, but then when he got in office, he just was just straight up regular neoliberal. He didn't do half of what the base mainly wanted him to do. But the true movement that really got going after that was Bernie. But the Democratic Party did everything they could do to kill that, because they felt like that wasn't the direction. The main heads of the party didn't feel like that was the direction that the party needed to go. They wanted to move further right and it was because their money interest wanted them to, because the money interest is right. And in order to influence policies that are in their favor, they have to influence policies that are right-leaning. And in order to influence policy, no matter whether Democrats or Republicans are in power, you have to get both parties to be in the same window. So the lessons being learned right now for a lot of the Democratic Party are the wrong ones. There are a few voices that are coming out, though, that are actually stating this problem, and are stating that maybe Bernie had something right. Maybe we really should have been kind of going in his direction. Maybe we shouldn't have really shut him out, because he had a movement that was strong and people liked it. And I mean, he's still the most favorite senator in the whole United States. Maybe he had a point. His policies were popular. The base loved him. Not only just Democratic base supports it, but a lot of even Republican base supports him. Just don't realize it. So it's incumbent on us with voices, anybody with a voice. I have a very small voice, very tiny voice, but anybody with a voice to really plow this in these next 4 years. That and let the Democratic Party realize that they are taking the wrong message and they're going the wrong direction. Stop going to the right. Actually feed your base. That's the reason why the Republicans have been so successful. That's the reason why now they have a full unified front, presidential, Senate, and now House and Supreme Court. Now are they really going to be able to get much done? Not anything policy-wise, probably. Not anything that's law. Why? Well, because they're small majorities, and the Senate requires a major majority, 60 votes, and there's not enough. They'd have to pull 6, 7 Democrats over in order to pass a law, unless they break the filibuster and get rid of it. But then they risk Democratic, Party coming into play, whether it's in 2 years or 4 or whatever, and then having a small majority to do whatever Democratic, Congress wanted to do. So I seriously doubt they're going to do that. Not to mention, there's really no laws that they need to really change, because everything really is sort of already in their favor. the status quo. The Republican Party is about keeping the status quo, and the status quo is already somewhat in their favor, so they don't really need to do much changing. Now they can do some minor stuff with with a simple majority, but that will help them further their intents. But yes, the Democratic Party is just taking the wrong. They're just taking the wrong. I feel like they're taking the wrong messaging. They're taking the wrong lessons, and we've got to constantly press them on pulling back. But I'm almost concerned. A lot of us are already concerned that it's a little bit, too little, too late. That the progressive and left leaning, uh, small coalition of the party is kind of had it. And I don't. It would have to take some major change in the party rhetoric and the party, discussion around policy and everything to try to pull that back, and the right face. It would have to be a progressive face that comes into leadership. And unless that happens, then I don't know. It might be too little, too late. But the progressive movement is not going to stop. We're going to keep pressing some way or another. Because that's the only way we're going to enact any kind of change somewhere. Get the message going through society somehow. Pointing out things that might wind up happening in the next 4 years and being like, see, this is what it should have happened, but this is what you got. So yeah, I think they're taking the wrong messaging. Some of them have the right ones, and we need to lift those voices up as much as possible. But I'm afraid that a lot of the just mainstream, regular corporate elites are spewing the same BS that they've been doing for years and blaming the same wrong people they have for years. And it's not going to help the party at all. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different, expecting a change. I think that at this point it's clear to say the Democratic Party is insane. Let me know what you think in the comments. Am I right? Am I wrong? Got me. Give me your input. Thank you very much. Till next time. Peace. ClearTalk. I'm out.